Ms. Lebohang Peko, who's a development economist, feminist economist, and as well as political analyst, and Sia Beniza, a political economist, who will be part of the conversation. And I wish to acknowledge ANC and its members who are in our midst this afternoon, as well as the SACP Central Executive Committee, COSATU Leadership, Pan-African Women's Organization, Mama Secretary General Mama Grace Kabayo, ANC Women's League, members ANC Youth League, YCL Leadership present, and MDM structures. I wish to acknowledge members of the diplomatic community that are here present, an ambassador from Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, ambassadors that might not, have not confirmed earlier. I just want to acknowledge their presence. I would also like to acknowledge the South African, ambassador present from Sudan, Ataro from Ghana, ZANU-PF Youth in our midst, MPLA comrades and friends present from Tanzania, Namibia, Lesotho, Mozambique, provincial leadership of alliance structures that is in our midst participating in the conversation this afternoon to celebrate Africa Day Month. Ladies and gentlemen, feminists and comrades, thank you very much for your time. Our conversation is really scheduled for 2 hours from 2 to 4 o'clock. And I am going to really, given the time constraints, I'm really going to make 3 or 4 several points in relation to today's discussion. Is that I think we are celebrating, Africa Month right in the midst of, Africa Month and Africa Day in the midst of challenges within the continent, as a result of many complex challenges that dates back to colonial time, that range from governance issues, socio-economic issues, growing divergence between the poor and the rich, right? And also the call for more matured leadership to deal with cross-border migration issues, trade, and building a resilient economy. But I think before we start, I just want to really ask that we have a moment of silence just to pay tribute to, families who've lost their loved ones due to COVID. But at the same time, to really also acknowledge, and I don't know if anyone had paid attention to the police crime statistics that was released last year, where it indicates that, we've seen an increased gender-based violence, particularly in communities whom social solidarity and humanity principles are always embedded in the lifestyle, in villages or in communities like Lusikisiki. I would really like us to take just 1 minute, to recognize that and actually begin to say that we denounce, the prevalence of gender-based violence and the fact that women live in fear and they're actually being raped by younger men within their own communities. Thank you very much. We may be seated for those who are standing. Just to say, I think 2 remarks is that, integration in Africa is a long-standing objective of African leaders and dates back from, OAU, because it seeks to ensure that it overcomes polarization of our economies, but also, it's entrenching the Abuja Treaty Agenda 2023, which really looks at the structural transformation of African economies, industrialization, diversification, and local production. But at the heart of today's conversation is to really make it sure and say that with all the plethora framework that has been developed to ensure that the African economies are integrated, but also profoundly is that they are not only industrialized, but there's a well-developed capacity of local production, is to look at what type of execution strategies that are existing. And I think Africa Free Trade Agreement presents an opportunity for that. And the African National Congress wants to be part of the conversation and ensure that it provides thought leadership around, rallying and ensuring that there's much more coordination, there's much more improved economic coordination and governance within the continent. I think with those opening remarks, I really don't want to take a lot of time because we've lost some time. I'm going to hand over to you, General Secretary Wamkele, to really share with us in terms of what is actually the genesis of the Africa Trade Agreement, and in fact, just perhaps to say two lines about who you are, is that Ms. Wamkele Mene is the Secretary General of African Free Trade Trade Agreement Secretariat based in Ghana. He previously served in the as the head of mission to the World Trade Organization for South Africa, and later chaired the Committee on International Relations. He has a very long bio, so I think the few lines will probably be sufficient for us to just get to know him. Over to you, Mr. And I'm going to give you 15 minutes, gives you the anchor of the conversation, and then I'll get other speakers to participate after you. Over to you.
If I may say, Comrade Chairperson, for this opportunity to celebrate Africa Day by asking a very, very critical question, and that is, how do we advance the objectives of a continental market integration in Africa? You mentioned in your opening remarks the genesis of integration in Africa, starting from 1963, the Organization of African Unity. We all know that the main purpose, one of the objectives at that time of the Organization of African Unity, was to defeat colonialism, and that struggle was achieved with the defeat of the apartheid regime in 1994. Clearly, the Organization of African